John chapter 10, verse 14 says this: I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and they know me. Just as my Father knows me, I know the Father, and give up my life for the sheep. Jesus said that he was the good shepherd, and he was the one who came and gave his life for his sheep. It's a big boast to say that you're a good shepherd. When today we can claim big things. I can claim that I'm the strongest man in Israel. I can shout it from the rooftops. But is it true? In England, we've just had an election, and many of the parties are saying all kinds of things. I promise to do this, I promise to do that, we'll do this for you, we'll do that. But is it true? Will they actually fulfill the words that they have said? There's many big boasts at the moment at what the leaders will do. But is it true? Jesus claimed to be a good shepherd. And he is. And he takes care of each and every one of us today. He leads us and he guides us and he provides for us and he protects us. Just a few weeks ago, I had a scorpion came into my house and it ran onto my foot. And God protected me. It didn't sting me at all. And it could have done. Then there was another time when I was cycling in Bethlehem and this young child just ran straight in front of my bicycle, and I could have very easily hit him, injured him, and of course I'd have fell off the bike, injured myself and broken my computer, but God was keeping us safe. I can testify and say that God truly is the good shepherd. The shepherd also has a staff. It's got a hook on it, and it can pull the sheep back into line whenever they want to do anything wrong. If that sheep wants to wander, or if it has ambitions that are really way too big, when our minds are, the shepherd can bring him back. When our minds are focused on the wrong thing, God's rod of discipline is there to bring us back into line again. He can hook us and bring us back into that line again. Truly, Jesus is the good shepherd who laid down his life for the sheep. Jesus laid his life down. Jesus wasn't murdered. He willingly gave up his life. Jesus could have sent thousands, tens of thousands of angels to rescue us, to rescue himself in the Garden of Gethsemane. He could have sent one angel to rescue him in the Garden of Gethsemane, but he didn't. Why? Because he was laying his life down for the sheep. Truly, Jesus is the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. Sheep in the Middle East are different to sheep in the West. In the West, you have to drive the sheep. You have to get the dog in the field and run around the field to get all the sheep together into one place. Then when all the sheep are together in the one place, you've got to try and get them to notice there's a gate and you want them to go through it. And you have to shoo them, go, push, and push them hard to get through where you want them to go. And in the Middle East, it's completely different. The shepherd just says something, the sheep listen, and they follow. The sheep know the voice of the shepherd. And it's really because the shepherd spends time with the sheep. Even today in Bethlehem, I see the shepherd with the sheep. So the sheep will know the shepherd personally. They'll have a sense of a relationship with the shepherd. They know the shepherd is there not to harm them. So they know they can be friendly towards the shepherd. And perhaps maybe in some cases, a shepherd has built a particular affection for a specific sheep. And they're friendly towards each other. And when you spend time with an animal, they become friendly. When I had my pet cow called Neddy, she's probably the most friendliest cow in the whole wide world. And you could sit on her and you could stroke her. And it's because I'd spent some time with her that she became friendly and that she wasn't scared of me. When we spend time with God, it becomes personal and there becomes a relationship. Today, do you recognize the voice of the shepherd? He's calling out to each and every one of us. Now, in Bible times, 3 or 4 herds of sheep would come together at night into the sheepfold, and the sheepfold would perhaps be a cave, and they would come into the fold, and they would be there all together, and the shepherd would sleep by the door to make sure a wolf or bear or anything nasty didn't come in to hurt the sheep. But in the morning, all the sheep would be mixed up, because there'd be 5 or 6 different sheep herds in that one cave. So all the shepherd had to do was shout his sheep, and he'd shout, "Come on sheep, it's time to go." And every sheep of his would come out and follow him, because they knew the voice of the shepherd. They could follow his voice, And it's the same today. We can follow the voice of the Good Shepherd because we know He's calling us. We need to follow Him. Now, sometimes there'll be thieves and wolves want to come in and try to steal the sheep. But if He's a true shepherd, if He's a real shepherd, He will look after the sheep. There could be wild and dangerous animals coming in. Now, a hired shepherd would run away. Why should I risk my life for the sheep? But the true shepherd would look after his sheep. He would fight the wild animals to protect the sheep, because he knows that if he didn't protect the sheep, one of those sheep was very, very valuable. Why would he want to risk his life if he was just a hired hand? He wouldn't want to risk his life. But the true shepherd would truly look after the sheep. And the good shepherd is a true shepherd, and he wants to look after his sheep because we are valuable. Each and every one of us are valuable. Now, the shepherds of Israel, in Israel's day, they weren't in it for the sheep. They weren't in it for looking after the sheep. They were in it for themselves. They wanted power. They wanted position. They wanted to have the authority. They didn't really care about the sheep at all. They couldn't have cared for them. They just cared about themselves. They just wanted the power and the authority. But Jesus is a good shepherd who cares for the sheep. Jesus was even willing to die for each and every one of us. So we know without a doubt He loves us. We know that He will never leave us. We're never ever alone. No matter what situation, no matter what circumstance we go through, we're never alone. We see through the scriptures that Jesus desires to bring Jews and Gentiles together, because He says there are sheep not of this fold. So there are Jewish sheep, there are Gentile sheep, and He wants to bring Jews and Gentiles together to have a relationship together with God as one flock, praising and worshipping God. And that's why it's important that we come together in unity. Unity is so important. Unity is what's on God's heart. We may have different ideas, we may have different customs. You may do something one way, someone else may do something another way. But if we have unity and we're together, then we'll see God's blessing in the middle of it. Sheep and shepherds are mentioned 247 times in the Bible. So it's an important subject. Shepherds were important. It was a lowly job, but an important job. The angel came and gave the good news to who? To the shepherds who were out in their fields when Jesus was born. King David was a shepherd boy. And when he was a shepherd boy, he was in training. This was his university. He was in training for greater things. I can guarantee you that if David hadn't been faithful as a shepherd, he would have never been a king. Because faithfulness is so important in the kingdom of God. And if he couldn't look after sheep, he was never going to look after people. Faithfulness got him the position. He led sheep, then he was able to lead men. And we need to remember to pray for